Good morning, mate.
G'day.
Welcome to sunny Melbourne.
Thanks, mate. How are you?
I'm very well. Mate, there was discussion of, or mention of Aboriginal deaths in custody towards the end of the show this morning. And I gather there's been about 470 in the last 30 years. Do you have any idea how many Aboriginal women die because of violence in Aboriginal communities or have died in the last 30 years?
I don't have a number on it, but I know it's a tragedy and
Yeah.
a very serious problem.
Well, a lady named Brittany Watson was murdered in Newman in West Australia last year, and her body was dumped in a wheelie bin outside the Newman hospital. A 17-year-old local boy has been convicted of her murder and sentenced to, I think, 8 years in jail. But the ABC TV News has never reported on the killing at all, and certainly has not included any reference to the woman's name. Now, George Floyd has been reported, the name George Floyd has been reported relentlessly for about 12 months by the ABC, but they're not prepared to report about an Australian woman who was killed.
Well, you have to take that with the ABC. I don't work for the ABC.
Well, have you heard of Brittany Watson?
Not that I know of.
Okay,
Well,
I invite you to Google the name Brittany Watson, and there was a story in the Australian at the time of her killing, and a photo of her, but in recent months people have stopped reporting her name because of, I believe, of cultural considerations. Do you have any concern that George Floyd's name can be shouted to the
well,
rooftops?
it's a different culture.
Well,
It's-
but why is it that an American victim's
because he
name...
was filmed being murdered by a policeman for 9.5 minutes with a bloke kneeling on his neck and he's screaming, "I can't breathe," until he was dead.
So is his death more important than the death of Brittany
I
Watson?
don't think that's the question at all.
Well, why wouldn't news media report at least once?
I don't know about it. I don't even work for news media anymore.
Okay. Do you believe that the Communist Chinese government has been upfront about the source and spreading of the COVID virus?
Well, I think they haven't been. I think they've been anything but transparent.
Okay. I'm of the view that compared to the Chinese Communist government, climate change is the least of our worries in the current global environment. Do you share my view that the Communist Chinese government is a serious risk to the global community?
Well, I do. I think that the strategic ambitions of China are a serious threat. I think that's what our defence forces think. I think that's what the strategic experts think in relation to China from a number of countries. So yes, of course it is. But that's not to say that climate change isn't
I don't dispute that climate change is an issue, but the time and effort that's given to coverage of climate change issues,
a fair bit of effort is given to the China issue, and a huge amount of money is spent. All right, you think about the submarine program. You know, $80 to $100 billion being invested on submarines which don't roll off the production line, assuming it goes ahead till the mid-2030s, when we don't even know whether they'll be relevant then. Certainly don't know whether they'll be.
I think the decision was ridiculous, and Australian taxpayers will be the loser out of it. Now, I saw a report that John Kerry stated in January that if the US went immediately to zero emissions, it would make no difference to the climate. Do you remember seeing a report of that nature?
No.
Okay. Google
That's
it.
just not true.
Well,
That's
that's what he said, and he's the climate czar, so maybe maybe he knows more than the rest of us do. But I tend to agree with him.
You don't think he does?
I tend to agree that the US and Australia and the UK and France could go to zero emissions and it would make next to no difference.
Well, they need China to act. There's no doubt that the emissions from the US and Europe combined still don't total what China emits. So yes, China as an emitter is the giant, and the US comes next. So yeah, that's a very, very big problem. If Biden can actually have some success in convincing China, then that will be a significant step forward for
Mate,
the globe.
I think Joe Biden is a sock puppet. I sent you a link to an incident where I saw Joe Biden outside the Boeing factory at
Let's just go
Fisherman's
back to the
Bend.
sock puppet
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, you're saying that after the utter joke of a presidency that we just saw from Donald Trump, that they get back someone who actually believes in American unity, in American prestige, in the idea of America as a global citizen. You think that it makes him a sock puppet? Well, you and I are a long way apart on that question.
I saw Joe Biden down at Fisherman's Bend, and he had a 30-car cavalcade, including 2 of the great big humongous things that were flown to Australia and flown back again. So he doesn't give a rat's about climate change.
I think that's
Thanks, mate. Good on you. Bye. I'm grateful to Mark for giving me an opportunity to have a chat. Bill Thompson for Outside Insiders.